Hey, Fitzy here, back at it again, another one, back on Crusty. This one here, we're going to get the firewall fully welded in, a full 6 sections. I had custom beads, I had a custom lip around the transmission, plug welds, and more plug welds. Buddy, I'm telling you, I did some grinding. Stick around. So I think it's time to get back at Crusty and get this firewall finished up. My plan is now I want to get this firewall done, whatever I got to get done with it, and get it welded in the car. So this front whole section is done, completed. I got to do some trimming down here, and I got to do some beads or whatever on this I'm going to do in here. And I got to prep it to get it ready so I can spot weld everything together. I got some things I got to do in here, down in here. I'm sizing up that I would like to have this a little bit wider down here and then come back this way. I cut too much out, so I got to put a piece in there. I want to trim this back a bit more here. You can see over on the other side the way I got it marked. So I want to trim this back, keep this width here, but I want to come up here and trim a bit more off of that all the way around. And just give me a little bit more room to get at the bolts to put the transmission in. And other than that, that's pretty well it. My game plan. So all that work I can pretty well do on the outside. I'm going to put a lip on the front of it so I can start doing the transmission pan itself. I'll put a lip all the way around that there. I'll do that out as well. But for now, I'm going to take this all apart and get this out. So I got it out here on the bench. And what I went and did is I turned around, I come over here and I measured this here. And I just scribed that all the way around there because I want to cut a bit of this off. And I marked it all the way around. And you can see over here, and I just kept going. What I did then is I came up straight here, because I got to go straight to here somewhere. I don't want to go cutting any more of this. I want to start from this point and fade it out and come up to this point. So I just took my straight edge here. I measured across that way and measured the distance up here. And just kept moving it up till I saw a spot where I felt it was a good spot to go. And now all I'm going to do then is I'm going to come up straight up here, and then I'm just going to slowly fade into this here and cut the strip off all the way around. And that'll give me the size that I want, so that'll be done. So I went ahead and I got that all trimmed up and sanded off and everything. Then I start sizing up how I'm going to bead roll all this. And you can get carried away with bead rolls, doing all this and having that going in around that and put strengths there and stuff like that. I'm thinking of like down the road, I'm going to want probably mount stuff. I want to put a heater in there and all that type stuff. But I'd like to have a bit of strength above the transmission tunnel, and that's about it. I thought about these down here, and they're going to be strong enough as they are. All this over here was pretty strong. I was going to have units mounted on top of it. Over here, I'm thinking I might want to put something on here, and I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with it yet. Want to put a heater or something in there eventually. I don't know. And I said I was going to put some beads in it, and I'm going to put a couple beads in it. What I'm going to do here is all I did is I marked out, I took my little scribe, and I scribed along there, and I opened it up, and I scribed it again. I opened it up, and I scribed it again. And I come up with 3 radiuses here. And then I turned around, I took some measurements from the end and from the top edge here, and just so that they're symmetrical on left and right. And I marked them out, and I got them marked to where they're starting, where they're going to end. And all I did is I went and got the biggest die I got. I'm going to have these protruding into the car. No, yes, these are going to be protruding into the car. That way I got a flat firewall. That's the way I'm going to do them there. And I'm just going to run a bead there. Come back here, run another bead there. And there are another bead there. And there you have it. Just 3 little inlays above the transmission tunnel. The rest of it I'm going to leave alone because it's going to be welded up here. It's going to be welded on the sides down here. I want to leave this section over here alone for now. I might have something put in here, and then there's lots of busyness going on over here. I think this is just enough just to break up the firewall and give strength to the tinniness on the back side of it. There might be some tinniness over here, but I think when I mount a heater or something over here, or unit, and it makes it a lot easier if I want to mount something on the firewall on the inside. I haven't got to deal with none of this, right? Usually nothing goes up along here, but I just want to put something in it just to say I did something with it and play with my bead roller. No, that come out nice. I just used the biggest bead I had, and I set it up so I kept it the same each time. This is neutral, and then I got tight here, and then I went 2, 3, and that was all I did each time, so each one was the same. And I just started from one point and worked my way to the other. I marked them on the other side because that's the way they were done. I marked them that way there, so I got that done. Now I'm going to figure out how to set up this section here, whether I'm going to build the top side of the transmission tunnel and have it incorporated into this. I also got to add pieces in here too, so I'll do them first. Now up here, I measured when I was in the car. From here out, I wanted to come out another 1.5 inches here, and then I wanted to come back in an angle like this here. All I'm going to do for right now is I measured the distance from here to here and got an overall length. I knew how to be 1.5 inches, so I'm going to cut off 2 of these strips here because I do the same on the other side. And I'm going to turn around and set these up now that the welds on here. Got this little roll bend into it, not going to worry about anything, as long as it's 1.5 inches off here, and I'll trim all this off after the fact, because I know I got to start from here and taper back, come across, and I'm going to weld this on here, grind and dress this, weld both sides, grind and dress it so it's completely finished, okay? So all I did, I cut out the 2 strips of steel, 1.5 inches wide, longer than they should be. I put a bend in them using the vise, nothing fancy. And I got a fit in place, got a piece of plate belayed in the back side there, and I'll butt weld these here in place. Lay it place there, weld down along there, and fit all this is going. I'll weld both sides and grind and dress it. I'll cut this off here, I'll come up to this point here, and then I'll cut that back on an angle to there. And that'll be the section I gotta leave in there. So I went ahead and I grinded off both sides, and then I went and cut it from this point down to here. This is my 1.5 inches that I needed, and I cut it off there. So what I'm going to do here now is I want to put a lip on this here to give me something to weld to later on to do a spot weld. So I like to have strength in this now because this is still going to be like this around here. And if I can lay this on the bench here now and weld something to this here, now it's got to be on a bit of an angle. It can't go straight in. It's got to be on an angle this way here, all the way around here. And then this here goes straight here, okay? It straightens up as it comes down to the sides here and all that there. So probably from about right here to about right here, it's got to be on an angle going around this way like that. And then it just straightens up because it goes down that way. That is the plan. So I guess I got an old scrap piece of steel there now. I'll find out how long this is. And I'm just going to lop off a length of it and start bending it to fit in there. And then I'm going to start tipping it, trimming off the either end here. I'm going to make it so it fits in there this way first, and then I'm going to cut off either end here and just start tipping it this way here till it gets it at the angle that I want to have it on. Probably one of the most trickiest sections of a transmission tunnel to do is this upper section. Trying to make this on the angles and everything you want it. I cut this strip out because I knew what I was getting myself into here. So I said to myself, how wide do I need this piece of steel? What I did before I took the transmission out of it, I took this here and I bent it. And I said, I wanted to come off the firewall and tip back on that angle there. Okay? And that's the way I done it. So this end down here was flat to the firewall. And then that there followed the flow of the top of the transmission. That's the way I wanted to have it. So this is the angle that I want my lip on here coming off of this here. Now in order to get that, this is what I need to do. I need a piece of steel now that's 4 inches or whatever that distance is here. My tapes are there. Let me get another tape. That's roughly around 4.5 inches. And now I'm going to need another inch over here on this end here to come up to this high here. So I'm going to need a piece that's 5.5 inches wide, the distance around that there. So there it is. That's 6 inches. It's too wide. It's too long, but it just fits in there. And I tweaked it and bent it and bent it. Just bent it over my knee basically. Never used nothing fancy to bend it up. So it just fit in there pretty good. Now that I got it fitting in there, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring this middle section up here, 5.5 inches, and like I did on the other piece. And what I'm going to do then, I'm going to start plotting marks all the way along here for cut lines. My precision calibrating unit right here, okay? I guess, you know, it's got the measurements and everything just so. All I did then is I marked that there, that's what I call it, and I scribed it right along there, look. Scribe it along there, come over here and I scribe it along there. And I'll take that off and I'll cut that off there, and I'll cut that off there, and you're going to see that it's going to have a U shape to it. And then I should be able to fit it down and fine tune it to fit within the unit itself, and then I can cut whatever I want off the top later. But I'm just worried about getting the edge to fit in here nice now, because I want to keep this on the table, keep it flat so I can weld it to keep all this square, right? So I'm going to go ahead now and cut that off all along there. And there you have it. I can lay that flat down there now. And it's flat all the way around there on the flat surface. And if you look at it this way, you can actually see that's got a curvature to it. Right? And that's because of the angle that I wanted it on. I wanted it on that angle there. Now you could have made this all in one piece. And if I had to make it wide enough, probably could have done it. But I want this here to step in here. And I don't know what I'm doing here yet. So I figured I'll just put a lip on it for now, so I can actually build it in the car. And then what I'd have is I'd have a join here. And what I'd like to have, I think I'm going to have a spot weld on here and then have all the transmission tunnel all in one piece. I'll make it all in one section. But now that's there. What I got to do is fit that in there now and start trimming it up to fit on the either end down here. I'm not going to worry about none of this up here yet. I'll leave all this alone so I can weld all this on here and get that tack welded on in along here, in through here, and get that done. So that way I'll have that piece installed. So here's what I went and did. I went and grinded off of this here. And then I grinded this off on the inside and on the outside. I grinded this on the outside as well. Trying to figure out how to go about this. I'm going to simplify this easy now. I marked this around here and found a center. Okay, which is there. And I marked this around here and I found a center. I'm just going to start in the middle. Right here. Line up them spots there. Tack weld that there. I'm going to work my way there, work my way there, and work my way around the side of it. That's all I'm going to do with it, and weld it on right there on the bench. I got some weight laid on this here. I want to keep this flat because I want the firewall flat, so that when I weld this here now, that there is tight to the top of the bench there, and it's tight to the top of the bench there. I'm just going to go ahead now and start welding that on there. So I got it all tacked in place there. I got to cut these off down here now, rework these corners a bit better than what's there. I got to take it off the table in order to do that, get them corners figured out. I'm going to cut them up because I got to put a piece up along here as well. as a lip as well, and right there. So then I got a mounting point for my bell housing. And other than that, I'm going to weld it up on the inside, weld it up on the outside, and grind and dress it. And then what I'll end up doing when I get it all grind dressed, I'll come back and I'll trim that off like so. I get to the go and something, I get ahead of myself sometimes. I just get right into the work and I just don't think about nothing but just want to get stuff done. You see me welding it. I welded it on the inside, I welded it on the outside here. And what I'm doing here now is, you saw me grinding this here. I'm grinding this flat here, and then I'm grinding it flat here. So I'm left with a sharp edge. Now I got the other side welded, so there's lots of meat in this corner, right? Once I'm happy with the shape that I want here, I had to redo a couple of spots there again. I grind it off. I'm going to round out that edge then, put a nice roll edge on that so when you're reaching your hand in around it, you haven't got a sharp edge to rub your hand up against, right? And what I'll do then is I'll go on the inside and I'll grind that with the stone, because where's two is pretty easy to get at, and I'll touch that up and I'll get that so it rolls back and around and whatnot, and I'll come back and dress it off, and then all I gotta do is just trim this off out here, the height that I want it. And there I have it all rounded off. Nice round edge on all that now, going around there. All I gotta do now is I gotta flip it over and grind all the inside. Get that all dressed up, and then I can just turn around and trim that off there. But I'll flip that over now and get the inside grinded up. So you saw me there going with the grinder. I've just used the electric grinder with stone on it. Grinded it off on the inside. You can get really carried away with this in here if you want to. All I want is to clean it up. There'll be seam sealer put up along here, so I don't have to get it perfect. I went back and there were some spots that stood right out to me, so I can touch them again with the grinder. I'll go back now and I'll clean all them up. And that'll be ready to go, and I can start trimming this off here. All I'm going to do is going to come back about an inch and just cut it off. That's it. And I'll be left with a lip all the way along there. And there you have it. Trimmed off. All dressed up on the inside here. All the way around. If you look closely at it, you might see imperfections. I'm not too worried about that. You can get carried away with it and dress that right up if you want. It's nice and thick on that edge. Right, you come out here to the front. And this is what you got out here. Nice rolled edge on it. Now what I want to do now is I want to join these in here as well and put a flange along here and a flange along here. But I want to do that in the car because I think this here may be on a different angle somehow. And also when I get to that, I'm going to weld, and not this piece. I might fit that in place though. And tack weld it in and I can dress it then. No, I can't get it off the car. I can't get the thing off the car with that on there. Leave that alone. I can weld these on though. I can get the plating systems here and get them welded on. So I haven't got to worry about grinding and dressing them, weld them in the car. I can put them on now. So all I got to do is left is to weld on the actual brake pedal assembly itself. I'll have them done. So I'm going to go ahead now, fit this back in the car. So I got it laid in place. You can see lots of room down here now. I had to put that block of wood in there because the panel wants to just fall ahead a small bit right there in the middle. There's nothing holding it back. So when I goes to put everything in, I got to make sure I got that block of wood in there so everything just stays the same all the way down there. But there's lots of room there to get out all the bolts and whatnot. Now I'm in here now and I got this here set up so that I can, I got these two pieces made up here. One reason why I got them made up is right here. I'm going to make these up to fit right here in this section here. Now I'm sizing this up. This here seems to be a bit long. So I made these here just to fit on top. They'll butt there. And I can adjust these in and out and I'll weld them right on there as I'm going, figure out the place where I want them to go. And then I'll just cut off the excess on the inside. I wasn't sure how much I needed, but I knew I could come in that much. It was still a bit short. It was about right here is where it was 2, and then they need to be about right here somewhere. So I still had to add to it. So I'm going to go ahead now, and all I'm going to do is just lay them in place. And I'm going to weld them in solid there on this side here, so that they're fully welded, let it cool off, and then when I takes it out, then I'll grind and fit it and weld the outside as well and have all that done. So that there will be the lip for the top side of the transmission tunnel. That'll be done. So I got them welded in place. Now I come in here, trim off these sections here, and weld them on the inside here, and then grind dress everything up. I've been busy. I got them pieces all finished off, grinded up, I cut them off, rounded out the edges, grinded the inside of them. Then I went ahead and I start prepping everything, okay? I want to install these 2 plates here. They goes over on this side here. I got to strip all the paint off of where I'm going welding because this stuff is brutal when it burns, okay? This, whatever this stuff is here. So I went ahead and I cleaned off all the areas that I was going to weld. I'm going to be welding pieces in here, welding stuff along here. And up along the top here, I'll be doing spot welds, and same with down this side here. So I went ahead and I cleaned all that off on both sides. Then I went ahead and sanded the entire panel inside and out. If you're using just regular steel, like in terms of your bond sheet steel and you're doing it, sand the panels, okay? Before I install this, prep the panel, because once you get it in the car, it's going to be a nightmare. You can picture trying to sand this behind the dash, okay? All that type of stuff. Firewall's not so bad. I spent a little bit more time on the firewall because my plans for this is I'm going to have the firewall white. The rest of it inside will be all going satin black and whatnot, but I think I'd like to have the firewall white on this car. But I got that all sanded. All I did it with was an oscillator. Where's he at? Oscillator 180 paper. I never got carried away with it, okay? I'm not looking for perfection on this here. That's good enough for me, okay? A bit of primer on that now, and a coat of white paint. That'd be perfect, okay? All the rest of this here, I went and stripped with a flat wheel. I finally found a use for one. They're great for buffing steel, as I always says. But I cleaned off all this here. It wasn't as harsh on the panel as the 24s are. So that's what I did. I stripped all the paint off with them there, got all them ready. So I'm here ready now. I got everything else done. This is ready to install. I got to install these 2 plates. I'm going to put these on it now so I can finish all the grinding off. One goes on the outside here, and the other one goes on the inside, okay? And those where they got to go because the holes are already there for it. So I'll just line up the holes there, plug weld that on there, and then plug this one on from the inside. What I'm going to do is put this one on first, drill the holes out here, and then lay this in place and then plug weld it from out here, and then grind it off flush. And then I'm going to turn around and install this one out here, and then just plug weld this from out here, and then weld that on. These will be plug welded on, so they're going to look like they're just floating there. There won't be no solid pass welds, or none of this is going to be welded on here. I don't like that. So it'll just look like it's just laid there, and that's where it's gone, okay? I welded the spot welds on, then I just grinded them off. Now I've just got this set up. I got 4 spot welds on this here. I'm going to weld that on because that's bolted onto the car as well. And then I'll have that structural section added to the car, and that'll be done. There you have it all installed. That's permanently mounted in the car. That looks a lot nicer now. You had to run beads around the sides of that. It's a nice finished look to it. It just looks like it's laid there, but it's welded on. And here's the inside brace. You can see where that was spot welded on from the outside. And that's all done. Now, my mount for the master cylinder is permanently mounted in the car. I haven't got to worry about that. It's nice and clean looking. This one here, I'm going to put it in when I get it in the car because I'm not going to be able to put the firewall in with that piece installed. So the only thing I got left to do now is I got to drill a couple of holes down here for spot welds, because that's the only 2 spots right here and on the other side that this whole firewall is going to be connected to the car. Yeah. The rest of the firewall is going to be connected to pieces that are going to be connected to the car. So, so a lot of times when you're at this stuff, you think about building stuff and everything's got to have a solid structure all the way around it from the get-go. But you think about the way I got this all put together here in pieces. Once it's all welded together, it'll be a solid unit. But for now, like that's the only 2 spot welds are going to hold this into the car. And the rest of it's going to be pieces that are going to be joined onto this that will be welded to the car. We'll put all the strength in it, right? So I'm going to go ahead now, get these drilled out and get this panel back in the car. So I got the firewall put back in place, and I'm in the process now of fitting that. I got to drill the holes for the spot welds on that there. And then I had to do some fancy maneuvering with clamps to clamp it in place there. So that's ready to weld in there. The firewall's in there now, won't be coming out. On the inside here on both sides, over here, I cleaned off top of the rails, all the paint and everything off it, so I can weld them on there. So they're ready to go on both sides. So I just got to get all that welded in place there now. Anyway, okay, I'm going to get all that welded in there now. So I got that all welded on, and I grind and dressed it, and I went ahead on the inside then and welded this mount here to the column itself to give it some strength. And I got it mounted or welded on the inside over here as well on the bottom. That's all welded up, grinded off and dressed right there. You can see where I welded to the column there. So that's all solid there now. As I was doing this, I was thinking about something. When you're building projects like this here, a lot of you guys will turn around and sit down and weld a whole bunch of stuff together and then go back and get frustrated grinding it. I learned a long time ago, it's better to grind simple small projects and work up to it. Once you get past 20, 25 spot welds, or as they're properly called, plug welds. I keep calling them spot welds, but they're called plug welds. After you start grinding 25 and you're sick of doing them, okay? So if you went ahead and welded all this together here and then came out here and start trying to grind everything up, you would have a couple of hundred plug welds that you're going to have to grind, okay? So take everything in stages, take a spot, finish it off, weld it up, grind it up, finish it, done. So now everything that's there is finished, okay? I haven't got to do nothing else with anything else there. I can just start adding to it. Now, if you're not familiar with how I built this firewall section, this firewall section is built in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sections to put this in. I have all the pieces made up and ready to go in. The next one I got to put in now is this upper one here. You never saw me putting that in and taking it out in this one. I got to get that all prepped up now. That's going to be spot welded on across here, right? And then it's going to be spot welded in across the top edge right there. You can see the way the piece goes in. So I'm going to take that out now and get that prepped and get that welded in and just continue on. Get the sides fitted in place, get them welded in. And I'll put this in, I'll finish welding it, I'll grind it and dress it, done. I'll come over here and I'll put this piece in here. I'll weld it in, grind it, dress it, done. And I'll just go on from that there. It just keeps ahead of myself so that I haven't got to go back and look, oh my God, I got to go do all this grinding now. So anyway, just quick little tip. Let's get back at this. So I got that panel all cleaned up, grinded off here where it was going to be welded to, okay? And I went ahead then, I took my hole punch, and I punched holes in it. But when I started it, I made a mistake. I come over here and I punched 4 holes on the wrong side of it. This here's underneath the bottom lip. I'm going to weld that from the top side here. Now, you'd say, well, that's fine, just leave them alone there. No, I can't leave them there. I can't get in there and grind that. These two for sure. I'm going to weld these up and grind and fix this now while I still can. So I haven't got to worry about it. I hate having that when that happens like that. But say, hey man, I'm human. I made mistakes. But I'm going to get them welded up there now. All I'm going to use is these pliers. Here them. When I need it, weld it up, grind it up. That'll be done. Brand new again. Brand new, look! Never know that I fooled it up. I don't make mistakes, boy. I filled that up with hole began. See? That would have drove me if I had to leave that there. Oh, that would have been something else, but no. Everything's safe, everything's good. Only took me a couple of minutes and it's all brand new. Now I'm going to go over and get the cowl set up now, get that all drilled out and ready to go. So the panel's all installed there now. I drilled these ones out because I didn't want the big hole like was in the hole punch. I wanted these to be a bit smaller because this stuff's so slight on this car. It's only like 24 gauge metal. And where this is 18, it gives me something to weld to. And if I had a bigger hole, there's more I got to weld up. But it ends up, I know for a fact I'm going to burn away at this here, and it'll probably be the same size hole it was when if I had to make the big ones. But it'd be even bigger if I made the big ones. But all the spot welds up there ready to go. Everything's cleco together there. So I'm going to go ahead now and get this all welded in. I'm just going to weld across the front here. And I think I might jack it up so I can get a bit of height in it and then weld in the back side there. Like I was saying earlier about grinding and finishing welds, I said there's over 50 spot welds just in this one panel. So I'll get this done, get it in place, get it all ground off and finished. Done. Okay? So I went ahead and I welded all that up, and then I went ahead and I finished that off and grinded everything off. There's a lot of welds here, and if you're anything like me, after you get to 25 or 30 grinding welds, it kind of like gets on your nerves, okay? So I figured I'd grind it up, have that done, that's finished. So all I got left now is to do this section in here. I'll do the same process in there now. I'll go in and I'll weld all that up and grind it all off, and that'll be that much more done. They're all grinded off. Now there's another piece complete. So now I got to move on to the side pieces over here and over here. Here's them sections here. They're already pre-made. I'm going to trim them up. I don't need this as wide as this. I'm going to trim this up a small bit on the sides. And I might have to put a tab on it right here so I can spot weld it up there. But now I'm just going to clean up everything so it's all ready to be welded onto the other panels. And I got to mark the actual doorpost where that goes on there, and I put holes in here and spot weld it on and through there. So I'm going to put one of these on at a time and get them done. So I'll get this one ready to fit. So here's what I got done. Here's one that wasn't touched. Here's the one I got completed and ready to put in. All I did is I trimmed up the sides here. I didn't need all this material on the side for a lip, okay? Because that's just weight. It just looks a bit wide. I made them like that. I trimmed them off, put plug welds into them. I put it in the car, marked in the car, and I cut it off so it's the same length as the firewall section here. I had cut a section off here. You can see it's longer here. So I cut that off. And of course then I put plug welds down through there. And then I went ahead and I stripped the panel, and then I sanded everything else so it's all done. So I haven't got to worry about it later on. That's the outside section there. Had to fine tune it a small bit. Still going to fine tune it even more when I put it in the car. But that's ready to install. So I made a little tab on the top side there. So that can actually be spot welded on. I wasn't fussy on trying to run a bead up there. Just put a little plug weld in that, done. That's fine. I have the inside of the door post all cleaned off. I marked it, grinded it all off. So I got a spot then for all my spot welds to go to. I got that all ready to go, up and underneath the bottom side there. So I got the panel fit in place. I had to tweak it a small bit more. Only one cleco is going to hold it up there. The bottom ones were out of adjustment because I had to bring it over tighter to the body. But I got that all set up there now. So I'm ready. I can go ahead and weld that in. See how it all fits in there? How it fits along the side here. I'll get that welded in there now. So I got that all welded in and all dressed up. A bit tricky on the inside, grinding it off and whatnot, but I got it done. I got to put this piece up here now. This section here fits up in here. So I just got to prep that to put that up there. I got to put a lip on the inside here to weld it on. There's a bit of a gap right here on the inside. I got to trim this up, a couple plug welds here, and strip all the paint off it, a few plug welds along here. So I'll go ahead now and get that ready, and we'll get that installed. So I got it all cleaned up. I went welded the tab on here. Just got a scrap piece of steel and welded on there. So that way there I got something in there to tap in and weld to. There was a gap right along here on the inside that I had to fill up. Then I went and put a few plug weld holes down around that there and on the back side here. So now that that's ready to put in place, let's go over and install it. And there you have it. See how it goes in there and how the small piece up in the back here goes on. The way it welds on the side on the inside and welds down along here. Wraps around the roll cage. Very little of his seam around the roll cage. Just a bit of seam sealer to fix that. You don't mind like down in the corner there, you'll see there's a small hole. You don't mind that type of stuff. That's probably like a, you know, something like that you're going to fill up with seam sealer anyway. You'd be surprised at how many large holes are in factory cars. But that's it for that. And there you have it. There's the inside all finished up. You can see the flange up here where it's been spot welded on, where it wraps around the roll cage here. And there's the spot welds you can see from the back side. You can see a lot of spot welds there, even on the panel there, where it's been welded up. Well, that's it for that one. Got that piece welded in. So then I got that piece all welded in. That one down there was done as well. I got to repeat the whole process on the other side, so I went ahead and did it. Didn't want to bore you with that. Same process, same thing. Everything was done the same way. This side here is all done. All up in the back there. All down at the bottom. And around this inside here. No light in here now. You see a little gap on the roll cage. Seam sealer will get that. You can see the light up in the top corner. Seam sealer will get that. All right. And then going down along the bottom there. And this way the bottom section for the floor will go in, the way it joins onto the floor, into the doorpost. Right. But that's it for that one. Didn't take long, did it? I come out here this morning and everything was ready to go and I start welding. Start welding that piece in there, and it is now, what time is it? Yeah, it's 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock, yeah. I'm out here the whole day. Had a bit of a dinner break. So it was a good 8-hour day gone into putting all that in, welding all that in, and getting it all sorted out and fitted nice and grinding all the welds. A lot of your time is spent grinding, I can tell you that now. It can be tedious. You look up on the top side here, see the way all that goes. Right. But that's it for that now. Next thing to move on to now is the floors. I'm going to start building floor pans in here now. Section here and a section over here. I'm going to come back to here and finish everything from here forward first. Transmission tunnel, draw shaft tunnel, floors, seat mounts, all that type of stuff. I'm going to get all that finished up. So from here forward is done. Yep, there's a bit done to the firewall. You can see I got the plating system in there. I got the column piece all mounted in there. The corners around the roll cage all fit up. The panel up underneath, that spot welded across the front here as well. I got the beads put above the transmission tunnel. Got nothing put over here because I don't know what to do over here yet. Same thing over here, and you can see the little bead edges that I got put on them there for the overlaps. And of course then the roll cage fits around there. But that's pretty well it. Anyway, I'm going to leave this one here. I hope the tips were good, and until next time. Close call, coveralls! Grinding off column of life. Figured I'd do it flat with an electric grinder. I never had this trouble with the ear grinder. Yeah. Alright, work yourself down, her. Safety first, boss.